Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jungle Show. Today is the NBA Draft Special, the NBA Draft episode. We will recap all the stuff, the crazy stuff that happened at the draft here in this episode of the Jungle Show on Auburn Daily's stream, on Auburn Daily's YouTube channel and Facebook page. You can find us there. Today, we will talk about all the craziness, just like I said, in the NBA draft. Jabari Smith falling to number 3 to the Houston Rockets, and Walker Kessler falling all the way down. I believe he was picked 22nd. Picked 22nd to the Minnesota Timberwolves from a trade from the Memphis Grizzlies. All that and more next on the Jungle Show.
I don't think they fell. I'm just saying.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Jungle Show, everybody. Tonight, I want to give everybody a heads up. Tonight is a pre-recorded. We are recording this moments after Walker Kessler gets drafted 22nd to he was drafted to the Minnesota Timberwolves in a trade. We are recording this moments after that just happened on Tuesday night. The draft, the first round is still going on. I have it right here, right in front of me, in case something crazy does happen involving those two guys and involving anybody around Auburn basketball, or if anything crazy happens in general, we will have it live right here. You will see our live reaction. That's right, on tape, yes. But this will go live at the same time on Fridays at 6 for the Jungle Show. We're excited to be back. My dad and I, Chris. Dad, what is your immediate reaction to what we just watched?
First of all, hey, Orlando Magic, you're dead to me. Dead to me. Trade Chuma now. Jabari went third. When Orlando picked Banchero, we kind of thought, I think Oklahoma City kind of had their heart set on the stick figure, and they did go with the stick figure. Not sure what position he's going to play. If he plays center, some of those centers will kill him. But I think Jabari going to Houston, and then they added the kid out of Tari Easton out of LSU, maybe one of the most athletic basketball teams in the league next year.
Absolutely.
And then we were kind of sitting there thinking that maybe Walker Kessler would go to Houston as well. But all of a sudden, 22nd pick, Memphis takes him in a trade. They get him to Minnesota. Plays with Karl Anthony Towns and plays with the kid out of Georgia that was phenomenal this year, by the way. Phenomenal this year. I'm excited to see him play with Edwards, to be honest with you. Get some pick and roll action with him. And I'm excited. That first time ever, we've had 2 guys selected first round of the NBA draft. What a great night for Auburn basketball, and I think the Times Square picture that Bruce posted says it all.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I want to talk about that before we get into Jabari and into Walker and into this wild night for Auburn basketball. This actually was. It all started with Times Square having not only pictures of Walker and Jabari in Auburn uniforms, had Auburn logos, had the team celebrating their SEC championship, had a big old picture of Bruce with Auburn stripes all over it. And, yeah, he made it his background just like that. Look, talk about a marketing tool. Talk about a recruiting tool.
Absolutely.
Man.
Absolutely. What a great marketing tool for the best marketer as a head coach in the country.
That's right.
Bruce Pearl's the best at it, and now he has Times Square agreeing with him, and he can show that to everybody. And I think Jabari handled himself well, and we'll talk about it as we get into it. But yeah, that was fun. I made it my home screen or on my phone right away because that was a really cool picture.
Yeah, and in that picture it said best coach, best players, best team. And man, is that perfect? So let's just get right into this. So about an hour and a half ago, actually, the NBA draft started, and the consensus number one pick, and not only all the mock drafts or anything like that, the consensus number one player was Jabari Smith of Auburn. He did not end up going number one. I think Wojnarowski hit us with the Woj bomb, right as the Orlando started on the clock. And it was like, whoa, okay, this is changed because they were going with a guy like Banchero. And just like you said earlier, Oklahoma City was set on picking Chet Holmgren, even though they showed interest in Jabari Smith. They thought Orlando was going to pick Jabari Smith. So it was like, oh, never mind. Nope. They go with Paolo Banchero at the number one pick, which I think that is a fatal mistake. I think Orlando will pay for that for years to come as well. Oklahoma City will pay for this for years to come as he falls all the way to number 3, which is crazy. He still is the highest draft pick in Auburn history.
By one spot.
History-setting night. It's big for all the basketball no matter what. But let's talk about Jabari going and his fit at the Houston Rockets. What do you think? What intrigued you about him going to Houston?
You know, when we talked about when you wrote the article about the draft lottery and projections, I posted it on Twitter, and somebody from Houston, and I wish I knew who you were. I could look it up in my Twitter stuff, but somebody from Houston reached out and said, hey, we're excited about the possibility of getting Jabari. And at the time, I thought, well, actually, when Orlando got the draft lottery pick to pick number 1, I said, well, then he's not going to Houston. He's going to Orlando. He's going to play with Chuma, and it's a good fit. And like you said, Woj dropped that bomb, a Woj bomb, like right before the pick came in. And both of us kind of looked at each other and went, what just happened? And I don't know who it was that tweeted out, but they said, let's see who the first team that Houston plays on July 7th in the Summer League is. Oh, it's Orlando. We're coming for you, Magic. Because Chuma's not playing. So trade Chuma because he deserves better than that. Trade him to Houston. I'm fine with that. Or to Minnesota. I'd be fine with that too. Or you like the Hornets and the Hornets. Woo! What a draft. But I think Jabari fits in that he gets to play with another Auburn player, Jalen Green. But that is a really athletic group.
Especially if you add Tari Eason.
You add Tari Eason to Jabari Smith to Jalen Green to the point guard John Wall. That's I often say, is this a team that I would pay to go see? The Houston Rockets are a team I'd pay to go see. Yeah. They're going to be fun to watch next year, and I'm excited. They were bad this year. But you add Tari Eason and Jabari Smith to that lineup. They rated the SEC for 2 of the better players, in my opinion. I thought Tari was a great player this year.
Yeah.
At LSU, and Jabari was the best player in the SEC, in my opinion. Sure. And so I think it's a great fit. And I think he'll like Houston. And like we talked about earlier, he's going with a chip on his shoulder because he wasn't picked number 1.
That's right.
And boy, ask Jim Boeheim what Jabari Smith is like with a chip on his shoulder.
That's right. That's right. Look, I just like you said, I do like the fit. I think out of those three, picking in the top three, I think Houston is probably the best fit in terms of going there and immediately he can be the guy that changes them from the worst record in the NBA, which they had this year, 20-62, to being a playoff team. Him and Tari Easton, I mean, that changes their team immediately.
I agree.
And it completely different. But here's what I'll say. I think with Orlando, he would have had the opportunity to be a part of a rebuild, as well as him being a part of a rebuild in Oklahoma City. No, I think this is the move that the Rockets needed to make to put them over the hump, to give them that jump. Jalen Green wins. He was absolutely incredible this year. Playing for the Rockets. He will
really
improve.
athletic guard.
Just like you said, John Wall. They've got Kevin Porter Jr., Kenyon Martin Jr. They just traded away Christian Wood, but you add Tari Easton, Jabari Smith in that spot. You go get another. I mean,
they need a big. They need a big.
I agree.
And they're drafting pretty soon now, I would imagine.
They traded that.
Did they trade it? Okay. Yeah. They couldn't get Walker Kessler, so they traded the pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But they need a big, and that's where Houston is going to come up short if they don't trade or pick somebody up on free agency.
Yeah,
they need somebody to take over the lane, and Jabari and Eason are not the two that do that. They're wing big men.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
It's a good pick, and it's fun. Like I said, I'm a Golden State fan normally, but I will definitely follow a really athletic Houston team and watch them. Maybe one day they come to Atlanta, go watch them play in Atlanta.
That's right. Yeah, I'm excited about that. No, so let's immediately transition here into the second Auburn Tiger that got picked in the first round, the first time in the modern era that Auburn has 2 first-round picks. Walker Kessler gets drafted, 22nd overall, gets drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies, but he will not go to the Memphis Grizzlies in a trade that sent the 19th pick to Memphis, that sent the 22nd and 29th pick to Minnesota. So that's where he will end up. He will play with Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns at the Timberwolves. And this fit, it intrigues me. This is not a fit that I had in the 5 best locations for Walker Kessler. This is an interesting one. I think this is Minnesota paving their way. Okay, we got our 2 bigs. Let's go build around Anthony Edwards. We've got Karl Anthony Towns. We've got Walker Kessler. Those are our 2 bigs. One's a scorer, one's a shot blocker. And
they could be on the court at the same time too, because Karl Anthony Towns is more of a face to the basket.
He played 4 at Kentucky.
Yeah, he could play the 4, and boy, they'd be huge at that point. My goodness.
Yep.
But they, as Jay Billis said in the ESPN broadcast, Walker Kessler's the best shot blocker in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And some woman that was heading up that broadcast was like, "Oh, really? Okay, huh? Who are you?"
He's lit.
There's no doubting it.
Jay read off a stat.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Do you remember the stat that he said 5 or 6 minutes?
So it was 5 minutes and 59 seconds, basically 6 minutes per block. So that, I mean, you talk about the minutes that he played. Every 6 minutes he got a block, and that is third in the past 15 years for Division I college basketball players. That ranks third as most frequent block percentage. I mean, that's
unbelievable.
That's crazy. But I do want to mention this fit. Just like I said just a second ago, it solidifies himself as not. I don't think he's going to start at Minnesota, especially day one. No. But I could see him getting in that rotation as a guy off of Karl Anthony Towns. Look, Towns has been their guy since they drafted.
Yeah.
And
good player. Oh, he's a great player.
He's a great player. But they are going to change with Anthony Edwards. Look, Anthony Edwards is a superstar.
It's Anthony Edwards' team.
It is Anthony Edwards' team.
Yeah.
How do they build around Anthony Edwards with a guy like Towns? And you just solidified yourself with two
bigs,
two really good bigs that do two completely different things.
Yeah.
So
Karl Anthony Towns is the 3-point champion from this past year.
That's right.
So I mean, he can play the 4. And Walker Kessler is the best shot blocker in the country coming out of college.
Yeah.
And look, Anthony Edwards, it's his team. It's kind of funny that the trade was between them and Memphis because those were the two teams battling in the playoffs this year. One of the better playoff series that I've seen. And those two teams, I mean, fought each other for that playoff position.
That's right.
So, but yeah, Edwards is really good. Good young team. I guess Towns has been in the league 6-8 years maybe. And Edwards is new. And Edwards was at Georgia. And don't ask me how they didn't win with him at Georgia. That dude is really good.
Well, you talk about him. You just mentioned Georgia, and you're going to get me on a rant. This is the NBA draft episode. They had Samir Wheeler, who's a really good point guard for Kentucky now.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards, Nicholas Claxton, who's a starting center for the Brooklyn Nets this past year.
And really good.
All on the same team. And by the way, you know who they also had, who we discussed last week on last week's show? KD Johnson. And they were terrible.
That's why he's no longer there.
That's why Tom Crane is no longer there at Georgia.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, no, the Houston Rockets are about to pick again. They just traded. I don't know what they traded, but they are about to pick 29th from that Grizzlies pick the Grizzlies got.
All right. Got it. They got to get a big. Or they've got to go to free agency and get a big. They need a big. I mean, you look at the roster. Do you have the roster pulled up?
The Rockets? They do not have a big. They're very veteran deep at guard. Look, their big this year was Christian Wood, who's a more of an undersized center, but more of an oversized forward.
Yeah.
And he played kind of that here. Just give me the ball. I'll pass it out. Let's run the offense through me. And he opened up things for Jalen Green. He opened up things for Dennis Schroeder and Kevin Porter Jr. and guys like that. There's your role for Jabari Smith. Jabari is going to be much more of a threat offensively when it comes to scoring.
Than Christian Wood. Oh, my goodness, yes. Absolutely.
But I do agree they need to go get a big, and whether they do that with this pick, then you're going to get our reaction live to this pick, or you are going to go into free agency looking for not a young guy. You're not looking for a young guy when that comes to that.
You need a veteran. I agree.
So it'll be interesting. Let's see what they go to. I don't even know who the best player available is right now because they're on commercial right now.
Yeah.
The Golden State Warriors just picked. So they had to go to the commercial.
Who are the Warriors?
Patrick Baldwin Jr.
out of
University of Milwaukee.
I like it.
He's a
good player. He's a good player. Wasn't his dad the coach?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was between Duke, Kentucky, and the University of Milwaukee.
Yeah, and he went to Milwaukee. That's right. He's a good player. Young. We'll see how that turns out for the Warriors who are NBA champs.
I agree. So right now, let's continue talking about Jabari on the Rockets. Let's think about what the lineup could look like. And I immediately want to put, because John Wall exercised his $47 million player option for the Rockets.
Still wrong business.
Oh, my gosh. $47 million player option for 1 year.
Okay, so you got
he's your
point guard.
If
he's healthy, he's really good.
Yes, I agree. You could run a double shooting guard action with if you want to put Jabari at the 4 and run Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green, or you could add Dennis Schroeder and run a double point guard. Or
Schroeder's still there.
Yep.
Schroeder stayed. All right, so Schroeder's still there. He's a good
Eric
player.
Gordon, a veteran shooter,
really good shooter.
He's still there. I don't know how he's still in the Rockets. He was on the Rockets before James Harden was. And okay,
came from
all right.
Chicago there. Yeah.
Do you? I really want to see who they pick here.
All right, but you've got Wall at point guard.
Mhm.
You got Jalen Green at the 2.
Mhm.
Who's your 3?
I would probably say Kevin Porter Jr. at the 2,
Kevin Porter Jr.
and Jalen Green
at the 3. All right, and then Jabari at the 4, and you need a 5.
Yeah,
and then Tari backs up Jabari.
You got Tari Easton back there. You've got Kenyon Martin Jr. back there.
Athlete.
You've got Schroeder back there.
Okay,
that's a good veteran. You got Eric Gordon back there, just like we listed.
You're right. You've got some good veteran guards.
You do have some good veteran guards. You need to go get a veteran big. And I don't think I think you should draft a project with the best player available at 29 here, which, the pick is in. The Grizzlies are picking for them. That it was supposed to go to Minnesota, and now it's going to Houston. So this draft.
This pick's going to Houston. All right. So, in my opinion, you draft. Is there a center left on the board? I mean, that's anywhere near the top 10.
No. They're about ready to.
Then you take the top available, and you either work out a trade for a center or you go free agent and find a center.
I agree. They just drafted Ty Washington Jr.
They love him some SEC, don't they?
Wow.
They drafted
Auburn, Kentucky, and LSU. They did.
Hopefully he doesn't turn his ankle. Then you'll never win a game. Oh, my gosh.
I don't understand that
reaction at all.
That was a live reaction to what we just saw. Yep. Ty Washington Jr. of Kentucky.
What? Oh, so they've drafted Auburn, LSU, and Kentucky. A big guard, and a point guard.
Look, the big thing with Ty Washington is his middle game, is his ability to not just shoot the ball from mid-range, those floaters, but also pass the ball off pick and rolls.
So do they trade Schroeder after this? Try to put a package together, get Schroeder and Gordon out maybe, and get a big?
I don't know if you do that.
But you got to get big. And Ty's a backup point guard in the NBA.
Yeah.
Hey, he's not going to start over John Wall.
No, not if you're paying John Wall $47 million.
No, he's not going to start over John Wall. He's not going to play over Kevin Porter Jr. at 2.
Yeah.
He's definitely not going to play the 3. He's not big enough to play the 3 or the 4.
Yeah.
So he's a backup. You just drafted a backup point guard, and you need a big desperately. They've got to put together a package to go big in.
That's interesting. I'll be very interested to see what the Houston Rockets do, not only with the players that they drafted, but with the group they already had, with the young group they already had, even though they went 20-62 this past year. We will keep y'all updated on anything Jabari news, anything that has anything to do with the Houston Rockets and Minnesota Timberwolves.
July 7th.
You will know. That's the next thing I was going to bring up.
July
7th is the start of the NBA Summer League. If you don't know what the NBA Summer League is, the NBA Summer League is a chance for new NBA players, specifically rookies, but second and third year players play as well, along with NBA G League players, to prove that they belong on a team. And every NBA team puts together a roster composite full of their draft picks, their young players, and maybe players that they're interested in signing. And maybe when it's G League, maybe it's overseas, maybe it's undrafted players, stuff like that. And they go and play in what's called the Summer League. And it's only called the Summer League because it's played in the summer. It will always be played in early July through
July 7th to 17 is the Las Vegas one. I don't know if they do. Do they still do the Orlando one?
They used to do one
and the one in Utah or wherever, Denver.
Yeah.
I think it's Utah is where they did that one.
Yeah.
But I don't know that they do. I think this year is just Las Vegas, and it's the 7th through the 17th.
That's right. But the reason we are bringing this up, and we talked about how Jabari has that chip on his shoulder.
He's the first chair.
The first game of the Summer League, July 7th at 7 p.m. Central Time on ESPN, will be the Houston Rockets a chance for Tari Eason and Ty Washington and Jabari Smith to all go up against the Orlando Magic, who passed on Jabari
and Paolo Banchero.
And it is very likely that Chuma Okeke plays in that game as well.
I think so too. I would play him. He's third year, but he was hurt first year. I think I'd play him in the summer league just to get him some minutes.
That'll be interesting. That will be a game to watch.
I can tell you that Jabari has already circled that on his calendar.
Yeah.
I just knowing the type of athlete that he is, and people were like, "Oh, he looks pissed about going third."
Yeah.
And they asked him in the interview on ESPN, "Did that put a chip on your shoulder?" And he said, "Absolutely, yeah." Well, the chip is sitting there on July 7th.
Mm-hmm.
First, and look, it's summer league, and some guys don't take it too seriously. Jabari's not the type of guy that doesn't take games seriously.
Yeah.
It's a game.
Yeah.
It's a game against the team that passed on him.
Yeah.
And I think Jabari will be motivated in that game. I can't wait to watch it because I think he'll go off.
Me too.
And
I'm expecting at least 72 points.
Well, it was a big time.
You're not over that.
What the hell was that? I'm not a very good Houston fan yet because that doesn't make any sense. What about my Timberwolves? Who else have they picked?
They do not have another pick. They traded that.
Mm-hmm.
They traded that was their pick that they were making.
Ty was the pick.
But I will say Minnesota has 3 second-round draft picks, and they're all like 44, 45, and 47.
Okay. So we'll see who is going to play with Walker.
Yeah, see who goes with Walker, especially in the summer league. I'll be very interested to see where Walker fits, where they kind of use Walker, because I think Auburn Hughes Walker in the perfect way, the way that Roy Williams in North Carolina could not figure out.
Yeah. Pick and roll,
lot of him, let him block shots. Give him the freedom to do whatever he wants in the defensive end. Yeah. Let him make his impact that he can.
I'm interested in seeing what the team do. Karl Anthony Towns ain't playing in the summer league.
No, hopefully no.
Anthony, what's his name? Not playing in the summer league.
No.
So,
if Lamelo Ball plays in the summer league, I'll personally go. I'll have a conversation with Michael Jordan.
So your Hornets drafted the guy that you wanted them to first out of Memphis, and traded him almost immediately. Traded him, and you about went through the ceiling, and then they had the pick, not the next pick, but the one after that, and they picked a kid out of Duke, which is hard for me to say, but he's a really good player.
Yes,
and you all need a center desperately, probably as bad as my Rockets do.
So my Rockets, I love to hear that because you bet your $1, I'll be buying a Jabari Smith jersey.
Yeah, go out and buy Jabari Smith.
He'll be sitting right here.
Let's see what number he gets. Because Eric Gordon's number 10 on that.
Yep.
So he's not going to wear 10 unless
he buys 0, 1, 2, or 3.
And they've got 0, 1, 2, or 3. So we'll see what Jabari picks. Yeah. We ought to go look and see what his dad wore as a pro.
I think it was 45.
I wouldn't be surprised for him to
that would
pay homage.
So odd.
It would look odd. 45 would look odd.
What about
to pay homage to his dad.
What about Walker? What number you like Walker?
So what's
Towns is 32.
Towns 32. I think Walker looks good with a smaller number on a jersey.
Well, if he can get 13, he's going to get 13.
Yeah.
Because that's what he wore in high school. That's what he wore in North Carolina.
I wonder if there's a 13 on that roster.
That's what I'm wondering too. And I don't want to look it up on the spot because I would lose the draft that's sitting right here. But we will.
You mean on my Timberwolves?
Wow. This show. This is a special show. Next week we will get much more, structured, and we will go. Should we go ahead and announce who?
Yeah.
You don't even know who next week's episode will be. We will discuss a little bit more about the NBA draft. We'll know a lot more. We'll hopefully know the numbers of the players. We were just talking about that. But we'll also know more about where they fit. We will know their other teammates. We will know, other packages, and hopefully we will see more free agency stuff start to rumble and start to happen. Maybe it'll happen with those two teams, Houston Rockets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. But next week we will also start back our player preview series for this upcoming season with none other than Wendell Green Jr.
I like me some Wendell Green. What number were you saying Walker wore?
13.
Yeah, the 13 is worn by somebody named Nathan Knight.
I don't know what that is.
We are gonna get rid of Nathan Knight, and we're gonna give Walker Kessler the 13 jersey for my Minnesota Timberwolves.
That's right. I like it.
I'm really excited about Wendell Green next week.
Me too.
Really
excited. I'm excited to write that article. That article will be up on auburndaily.com before we start the show next week. This will go live when you're watching Friday at 6. We're recording this as the draft is happening. It is not live. No, this is all pre-recorded, and this is all acting. So, but we will go ahead and get out of here. If you're going to find us on Twitter, you can find me on Twitter at Grant Olberg, or find him on Twitter at War Eagle Hoops. Or you can find all the amazing stuff on auburndaily.com or on Auburn SI_Auburn on Twitter. Follow all the guys on their social medias and keep up with all the great stuff that they got going on. Baseball is just in it. We're getting into the heat of the off season with
H-Town.
H-Town. That's going to be interesting.
Go Timberwolves. H-Town.
But we'll go ahead and get out of here.
War H-Town, right?
War H-Town. We'll trademark it.
Yeah, we are.
War H-Town.
War H-Town.
All right, but we'll go ahead and get out of here. Until next time, War Eagle.